Don in London. Hello. March 25th, my video for March 25th, all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, could have been anything, and my behaviour could be equally addictive around people, places and things. Right people, right place, right things, and striving to fit in. I'm not really understanding. It was all right to say, I don't know how to fit in, but maybe where I am right now is not me fitting in. But it wasn't like that back then. For some reason I thought I had to do the right thing, and often I listened to other people who told me what the right thing was. Of course, if we keep company which does things which are harmful, if taken to extremes, then we fall into those patterns too. So I don't blame them, but I joined in with the drinking and got stuck in it and couldn't find a way out. So in the end I needed help, and if it hadn't been for family, friends, community and medical people, I would have never got to a place where I could listen and learn how to live life one day at a time. And the people who helped me most in that process happened to belong to a fellowship, and that fellowship is Alcoholics Anonymous, full of unique, authentic people who speak for themselves where they will. So I speak for myself where I can on a daily basis, and it's part of my meditation and understanding how to live life with freedom of choice. Freedom of choice. Being able to say, I don't feel like that and I don't want to, is as good as I feel great about doing that and I really want to. Or I need to be sober, and how am I going to do that? Well, I needed to learn all over again some of the general patterns of how to be included, how to love people, how to be loved back, and how to be useful again, one day at a time. So the Fellowship of AA provided a template, a process, a way of living, which each person can adopt as they see fit. So what is AA? I'll read the AA preamble, which is shared at every meeting that you may attend if you have a desire to stop drinking, and then stay stopped, one day at a time. And the AA preamble goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. But you can guarantee, this is not part of the preamble, but you can guarantee that every single person in the fellowship has got affiliations with maybe a sect, denomination, politics, organisations or institutions. And that's absolutely right, because we don't have to lose our identity or what we truly believe is good in life. AA does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So neither endorsing nor opposing any causes means that it exists for people who wish to stop drinking and then share their experience, strength and hope as they understand it with others who may also want to get sober. So it's not about proselytizing, which is a big word, imposing our values on other people. It's about living life, sharing what works, and not sharing affiliations. And that's important, because the last thing anybody who is an alcoholic wants is for somebody to tell them what to do. It's been proven over and over again that trying to tell somebody to stop doing something which is harmful doesn't stop them, because they have a malady or an allergy or an illness, and nobody wants it. Nobody wants to be ill. Nobody wants to be an alcoholic or an addict. Truly, truly they don't, is my understanding, because it takes away everything from us. We are left with nothing. We're just processors of substance and behaviour. So the greatest freedom is being back in society, included as we may be with whatever skills and abilities, and maybe sometimes we're just a blank slate where we can start over and start learning by asking for help. because if we ask for help, it's normally there somewhere. And as we are sober, or getting sober, we get to listen to the good ways of living and discount or do not follow bad ways of living. It sounds very easy, but it's very hard if we've been stuck in a malady and we can't get out of it. Anyway, my videos for people who cannot get to meetings or just want a gentle reminder. I share from the Daily Reflections, this book, and also I'm using As Bill Sees It at the moment as well. And I'm also reading out the chapters from the AA Big Book simply because I was asked to. Right, so for March 25th in the Daily Reflections, this one, and just a reminder, March is all about step 3, which is letting God into our lives, or letting the world in rather than excluding the world from our outlook, which is what alcohol did for me. So whatever your faith or beliefs, or whether you're an agnostic, atheist or believer, what's important is to let the world in, let in the wisdom of the world. So if God or a force greater than us works through the wisdom of others, which we can listen to, then that's great. And all we need to know is that we're not God, and then a higher power, an understanding of a higher power, can form to help us on our way. So for me it was AA to start with, not individuals within it, but everything that the fellowship stands for in that preamble, to get freedom of choice back. So here we go. A full and thankful heart. March 25th. I try hard to hold fast to the truth that a full and thankful heart cannot entertain great conceits. When brimming with gratitude, one's heartbeat must surely result in outgoing love, the finest emotion that we can ever know. And that comes from As Bill Sees It, the other book I'm going to share as well. And it goes on to say, I believe that we in Alcoholics Anonymous are fortunate in that we are constantly reminded of the need to be grateful, and how important gratitude is to our sobriety. I am truly grateful for the sobriety God has given me through the AA program, and I am glad I can give back what has been given to me freely. I am grateful not only for sobriety, but for the quality of life my sobriety has brought. God has been gracious enough to give me sober days, and a life blessed with peace and contentment, as well as the ability to give and receive love, and the opportunity to serve others in our fellowship, my family and community. For all of this, I have a full and thankful heart. So, in that, the higher power for me is society, the wisdom that we get, and the wisdom that we give as we get more well, more sober, more able. But it's not about being in charge and telling people what to do. So the levelling process, if you like, is to be a part of, to be included, and to exercise good choices, and to see the gratitude. The gratitude is a life reclaimed on a daily basis, and we can give thanks for that to whatever higher power we feel is right. And there is this thing called the inner voice inside our heads, and it has two sides to it. It has the inner voice, which is a bit like the devil. What's the words? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So let's be damned. Or there is the other one which says, listen, why don't we try something new? Why don't we try and be kind and loving to people and see what happens? And the answer is, of course, if we are kind and loving towards people, we get kindness and love back 90% of the time. But we will still meet people in their own self-will run riot or self-obsession who say, get lost. And that's okay too, because the only thing that happens with a person coming into recovery is we're still quite sensitive, and we forget that the one incident which can spoil the whole day is one incident which has happened in a day where the rest of it's worked pretty well. So we don't need to compound little bad things. You know, it's often the nasty word that somebody says to us which makes us want to turn around, pick up a brick and throw it at them. And that's not the answer. It's better to keep on walking and say, I could have been like that, and I'm not, and forgive them. As long as they're not going to do you harm. And if they are, run like mad. Maybe. We don't have to confront. You know, confrontation, often we can confront with truth, we can still make sure that the other person's inner being is respected, and say something like, I really do like you as a person, if you know them, but when you do this, it really, really, really gets on my wick. Or, there's so many examples. We learn it, and we learn it as we go along. We don't have to have the full rule book in front of us, because there isn't one. Humans weren't given, they weren't delivered with instructions, I understand. Anyway, on page of, as Bill sees it on page 16, I seem to be reading this one backwards, but it says here, never again. Most people feel more secure on the 24-hour basis than they do in the resolution that they will never drink again. Most of them have broken too many resolutions. It's really a matter of personal choice. Every AA has the privilege of interpreting the program as he likes. And I'm going to read those last two sentences again because they're important to me. It's really a matter of personal choice. Every AA has the privilege of interpreting the program as he likes, which means that what we see, what we learn, and how we make use of it is what we do. And that's our privilege. It goes on to say, personally, I take the attitude that I intend never to drink again. This is somewhat different from saying, I will never drink again. And so, I intend never to drink again. It's different from saying, I will never drink again. When I say I will never drink again, the attitude sometimes gets people in trouble because it's an undertaking on a personal basis to do what we alcoholics could never do. It is too much an act of will and leaves too little room for the idea that God will release us from the drink obsession provided we follow the AA program. And the reason, well, for several reasons, that particular page, page 16 in As Bill Sees It, personal choice. Every AA has the privilege of interpreting the program as he likes, and also sticking with the winners. And where it says here, it is too much an act of will and leaves too little room for the idea that God will release us from the drink obsession provided we follow the AA program. And in the 12 and 12 steps and traditions, there's a particular passage in the 12th step reading which shares each and every one of the steps in one page, and it says these steps will work on the day we ask. And for me that's really important, because when I'm asking God, I'm also asking myself to be reasonable about being a human being who can make mistakes, and also realise that every other human being on the planet can make mistakes too. So on the day I ask, please help me utilise and live these principles in my life, live the step program. It doesn't mean you have to be rigid. In fact, it's the greatest flexibility for ourselves and other people. We forgive, we grow, we have humility to keep on learning, and that's what is key in AA. That's why I'm enthusiastic about it. That's why I do these videos, because I want to share the experience, strength and hope, and also release people from the bondage of self, that they have to be right, and that we are allowed to make mistakes, and that we are allowed to have personal choice to see how the program can develop for us, and that no other AA can tell another AA what to do, which is tradition 1. But unity is absolutely important, or the whole thing falls to pieces. So unity in purpose around a desire to stop drinking and stay stopped, and at the same time freedom of personal choice to develop our lives as is possible and can be actually done in real life as intended, or as God intends. You know, nature and providence is about endeavour, opening up what can be done. And a lot of what happens in the societies in which we live, and the communities, is all about knocking us down and putting us into boxes. So the greatest freedom is personal choice. And when I heard another person in life, in a meeting, when I was working in a particular industry, said, I really don't feel like doing that, I was shocked, because it never occurred to me that I could say, I don't feel like it. I always thought I had to do it, and I was always looking for a way of getting out of it if I didn't like it, and I was not very good at saying no. So one of the other things I've learned along the way, which is really important, is what Gandhi said: an emphatic no is better than a half-hearted yes. Anyway, enough of me for now. The serenity prayer to God, law and good conscience, the inner voice, to reason and reasonableness, and being unique and authentic, and living and fitting in, and being included. That serenity prayer to what we can and cannot do, and learning the wisdom to know the difference on a daily basis can save my path back to self-obsession, back into the problem rather than staying in the solution. So the serenity prayer to God, the inner voice, good conscience, as long as we recognise we aren't God, and if we make an appeal to the reasonable outlook and solution, which may involve the wisdom of others, thank goodness, or where would we all be? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is always in the moment and just for today. Another rainy day here in London. It seems sometimes like spring is here and the sun is out, but of course March is a rainy month. Well, less rain in my heart these days. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, well, alcohol, and my behaviour, equally addictive. Work, relationships, materialism, collecting, trying to fix myself in some way. I didn't even know what I was trying to fix, but for many years there was a feeling of not being quite right with the world, and having an anxiety or fear at the back of it. And I realised when I got sober that the fear was always about being less than or not good enough to be a part of what was going on. And it was a confusion on my part that the great big gap we have inside us when we first start living is about filling it with good things: wisdom, experience, strength, hope, all the stuff of life which makes life work on a daily basis. And, you know, to find myself as an addict, close to 50 years old, wondering where the rest of my life might go, and actually for a long time just simply not wanting to wake up and greet the day, not wanting to wake up at all, hoping that the oblivion that I saw the day before, or the night before, or whatever time of day it was, would send me off into a sleep where I wouldn't wake up. And that was following, or after rather, a nervous breakdown. But for years and years and years I'd striven to find some sort of life happiness, and I'd failed abysmally in my own way, because I was always striving for perfection and never really enjoying the moment of now. So what's making it work today? Well, living in the moment of now, understanding it can be happy or sad as life experience affords. So I'm not trying to push myself into being anything or trying to be something that I think I ought to be. I'm simply striving to be me. And there is much more happiness in doing that and learning life as we go. So addiction, 35 years of drinking. I don't know when I crossed the line into being an addict. Probably when I took the first drink, when it changed my feelings. But in terms of complete addiction, physically and mentally, probably around about 2003, something like that. But before all the signs were there, all the signs of unhappiness, fearing life, putting on a brave face, and having a very brittle ego to keep me going. So these days I try not to do that, and what helps me is family, community, professionals to keep me well physically and emotionally, and having a moment of clarity where I realised I could not get well on my own, that no amount of self-will, self-determination would work, because it turned into self-obsession, failure, and more oblivion in any shape or form I could get. So for me it was alcohol. I never got to illegal drug taking, but you know what? I guess that was just around the corner. Anything to fix that horror of living. So these days I don't feel so horrible, and life works. So the key, if you like, to opening the door to sobriety turned out to be a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. So it's a place which I can call home. I can go anywhere in the world to any room of AA and listen to people. Even if I don't speak the language, I will have an understanding of what is going on. People sharing their experience, strength and hope of being sober today, one day. So AA, I don't speak for it, never can, never will, not intending to. But if I were to leave out the story of AA as part of my recovery, that would be a bit of an ego trip and suggest I could do it on my own, and I can't. So I share about AA, and I share the statement of intent, which is what AA is, also called the AA preamble, which is said at the beginning of every meeting, and then a bit of the literature of AA, just to do a mini meeting, if you like, online. So if a person can't get to a meeting, there is one there. Or if a person is wondering what is AA all about, are they all mad, are they all dogmatic and occult? And the answer is no. We're unique, authentic people on a unique, authentic journey, and we have one similarity, and this is what it says in the statement of intent. And here it goes. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's on this little card here. Freely available at any AA meeting, well, for about 20p, or free if you're a newcomer. And the principles are, we go there to be sober, we remain unique, authentic, we all have our belief systems, our outlooks on life, and those don't change unless we change them. And they don't change into some sort of AA amalgam. We just change how we are on a daily basis, being sober, finding wisdom, and finding out what we can and cannot do to make life work, or live life so it works. So, having said that, there are 12 steps in the action program. It's all about taking action to change our attitude and behaviour. And this book, Daily Reflections, covers a step a month. So 12 steps in 12 months. And why did it take 12 months to go through it? Well, the simple answer is, once we understand the steps of AA, 12 steps of action to change attitude and behaviour, we use them every single day in our life experience to shape what we do next, to make free choices without having to lean on something to fix ourselves. So step 3 in March is all about letting go old attitudes and behaviour and letting in new opportunities to change. And it's called Let Go and Let Go Conscience, or Let Go and Let God, or whatever it is, according to your faith belief system. So letting go and letting good is what it's all about. So for March 25th in this book, we do a 1 page a day. It says this: a full and thankful heart. I try hard to hold fast to the truth that a full and thankful heart cannot entertain great conceits, in other words, ego. When brimming with gratitude, one's heartbeat must surely result in outgoing love, the finest emotion that we can ever know. And whoever thought we would talk about love as being important to us in our whole living experience, when we're all burned up with other things? I believe that we in Alcoholics Anonymous are fortunate in that we are constantly reminded of the need to be grateful and how important gratitude is to our sobriety. I am truly grateful for the sobriety God has given me through the AA program, and I am glad to give it back what has been given to me freely. I am grateful for not only sobriety, but for the quality of life my sobriety has brought. God has been gracious enough to give me sober days, and a life blessed with peace and contentment, as well as the ability to give and receive love, and the opportunity to serve others in our fellowship, my family and my community. For all of this, I have a full and thankful heart. And when it talks about God, for me, God is truth, God is love, and God works through people. So for me, what's important in life is to love, be loved and useful. And as we come to understand what is important to us, loving, being loved back and useful, the word God starts to be less fearful for those of us who were atheist or agnostic, and understand that the concept of God, of our understanding, our own understanding, is what works for us. So letting go and letting good conscience, letting go and letting God. If God is truth, love and works through people, what are we complaining about? What are we fighting against? We're fighting against our own self-will, which drove us to obsession and tipped us into addiction. So the gift these days is not to be tipped into addiction again. So at the end of these videos, when I say the serenity prayer to God or good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It is just for today. It's all about recovery, and that's recovery from addiction to substances or behaviour. My substance, alcohol; my behaviour, quite addictive, workaholic, gymaholic, relationshipaholic, any old holic. And I stay in recovery just one day at a time, and life goes on. Life goes on without the need to be indulging in my addictions. Or maybe one, that is the ism of living, that I wake up in the morning, ask myself, how am I feeling, why, what can I do? And make the best of the day I have ahead. And part of doing that is the daily reflections for me here on my YouTube site, sharing experience, strength and hope, and what makes it work for me, and that's the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I make no apology for that. I don't speak for AA, never would. I can speak for the experience I get, or rather the wisdom I get to experience life. And what the program gives me is a 12-step action program to do with my attitudes and behaviour, and a safe place to find my truth, the truth of me, either past, present or future. And actually what the program suggests is we just keep it in the day, just one day at a time, see how recovery goes, and if we can go with it, we go with it, and if we can't bear it, well, the consequences, I just don't wish to imagine what they are. They are an unimaginable pain for me to go backwards and start drinking again. So I try and I don't drink on a daily basis. That's all I can say. And there are no graduation days, if you like. We never graduate from the fellowship of AA. We just keep on going and helping each other to stay sober one day at a time. Hot coffee, good. So, the AA preamble shared at every meeting I go to here in London goes like this, and this is the meeting preamble, and it helps slow me down into the moment of now. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And a long day yesterday, up early, getting ready to go to a funeral, which I did, and it was glorious sunshine, and many people turned out. And it was a celebration of a good friend's life, and I guess we all cherished him and saw him as a great friend and somebody who had lots of wisdom and who could be gentle and caring, and that's all the good. And I was there, not as the main player, because that's not the way we are when we get into recovery. We're just normal human being size, and it was just nice to be a normal human being, paying my respects to somebody who's helped me greatly over the last few years. So yes, after that I was exhausted. I got to a meeting in the evening, and it was a very good meeting actually, of the fellowship, and made me think about those times, those awful times when I couldn't stop drinking at all. It was 24/7, I was very ill, I've been rushed to hospital more than once, and I just didn't know how to stop. And the malady of drink, or the malady of addiction, affects us all the same. We get to a place where we cannot stop doing something we know is self-harming. And the gift of fellowship, if you like, is self-healing through fellowship. And that is, we learn a path of recovery for ourselves, and we learn from other people how that may be. At the same time, we remain unique, authentic human beings with our own outlook at this moment in time. It's our journey, our experience, and we share it if we are lucky, and we're included rather than excluded from life and living. And here on my videos, I utilise, as Bill sees it, one of the AA literature books, and this one, Daily Reflections, particularly because it covers the 12-step action program for individuals, 1 step a month. So 1 step of attitude and behavioural change a month. It's an insight, if you like, to be a mental jogger on a daily basis. And for March 25th, March being the 3rd month, and it's the 3rd step, which reads exactly as, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And as I emphasise, it's the God of your understanding, or as an atheist or agnostic or a God believer, it could be to good conscience, to the greater good of humanity, the greater good of being, just being in the moment, and a part of life, included and not excluded and not in charge. So that's the important thing. God or good conscience represents a higher power. So the word God, when it's used here, is as you see it, not as I see it. A full and thankful heart. I try hard to hold fast to the truth that a full and thankful heart cannot entertain great conceits. When brimming with gratitude, one's heartbeat must surely result in outgoing love, the finest emotion that we can ever know, and that comes from As Bill Sees It, page 37. I believe that we in Alcoholics Anonymous are fortunate in that we believe we are constantly reminded of the need to be grateful and how important gratitude is to our sobriety. I am truly grateful for the sobriety God has given me through the AA program, and I am glad I can give back what was given to me freely. I am grateful not only for sobriety, but for the quality of life my sobriety has brought. God has been gracious enough to give me sober days and a life blessed with peace and contentment, as well as the ability to give and receive love, and the opportunity to serve others in our fellowship, my family and community. For all this I have a full and thankful heart. And I don't know that it matters whether you have, it doesn't matter if you're atheist, agnostic or a God believer. What it is for me is being included and level, and no bigger and no smaller than anybody else. And the principles of the program to improve our spiritual, emotional and physical well-being on a daily basis means we never get bigger than one day to live our wisdom, live our experience, strength and hope. So the gift is, it's a levelling and inclusion of a person back into civilization, society, community, family, and maybe humility as well. You know, that thing, the antonym of pride, as my good friend who was buried said yesterday. You know, the antonym of pride is humility, and it doesn't mean bowing and scraping, it just means being the same size, with an outlook which can be challenged or supported on a daily basis. And as Bill sees it, righteous indignation, page 58, I just do these linearly from this book, and I've got time. Righteous indignation. The positive value of righteous indignation is theoretical, especially for alcoholics. It leaves every one of us open to the rationalisation that we may be as angry as we like, provided we can claim to be righteous about it. And as somebody wrote to me yesterday, suggesting that what I do is wrong, 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 and I don't belong to AA, well, I sincerely hope that I don't react to that, because I am who I am, and I do what I do. And I do take account of other people's feelings. But, you know, in the traditions of the fellowship, tradition 1, tradition 2, basically all of them say that we need to rub along and be a part of, rather than distinguish or alienate anybody and exclude them. So, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on other people's opinions of me. If I did, then I would go round and round in circles and never get anywhere. So, when we harboured grudges and planned revenge for defeats, we were really beating ourselves with the club of anger we had intended to use for others. We learned that if we were seriously disturbed, our very first seed was to quiet that disturbance, regardless of who or what we thought caused it.
So, it's not about a blaming culture, it's about an accepting culture, accepting what life is today. And sometimes we do tread on the toes of other people, but it's not intentional, and certainly not to undermine their values and principles. I guess what I'm saying here is we need to know and understand ourselves enough on a daily basis to make use of this day, to know what our maladies are, to know what will help us keep well and in a good fit state of spiritual, emotional and physical, to the degree that we can, given our age and other things which come along in sobriety, called normal living. So as an ending, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.